I had a vision when I was sitting in the bath a couple of years ago now, maybe. And I've asked my great friend, the brilliant Neil Haig, to knock this up from what I saw. I'm sitting in my bath, and I saw billowing energy, yellow, kind of white-yellow energy. And I took that immediately to be consciousness. Then an eye appeared in the energy, the consciousness, and then a telescope appeared. At the end of the telescope was this reality, the Earth, the solar system, whatever. The last movement was for the telescope to morph into a human body. And that was so profound in the sense of that's how it works. And because of the limitations of this focus, we see ourselves, if we don't stay in contact with that, in very limited terms. Death is just putting the telescope down. Well, I've had enough of that. Earth's a shitty place. Hello, all right, I'm back. You never went away. The computer's here. We are observing through the computer. And I want to make the difference, because this will go through the day, the difference between consciousness and what I call the mind. Everything is the same energy in the end, because it's just one unified awareness I call the infinite. But it takes different expressions. Consciousness is the ocean. All possibility, all that is, all awareness. And the mind is like a frozen, denser expression of that, and therefore has great, great limitations in terms of awareness and perception compared with that. And one of the reasons is to interact with this reality, which is much denser than consciousness, we have to have a denser conduit, which we call the mind-body. Therefore, it has to be more limited than consciousness itself. This guy, Ramana Maharshi, a man who lived in India and meditated for most of his life on a mountain in India. I've actually been there. Nice place. He said, mind is consciousness which is put on limitations. You are originally unlimited and perfect. Later you take on limitations and become the mind. Or as Einstein put it, a human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts, his feeling, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. And that optical delusion comes from looking through the lens, the telescope. And what it does, and I keep saying the control system is structured exactly to do this, it puts us in a false identity. One that doesn't think all possibility, it thinks limitation, I can't, that's not possible. And if you want to control people en masse, you want them in that mode. I'm not David Icke. David Icke's my experience. It's a name for the experience I'm having at the moment. I am all consciousness, all awareness. All that is, has been, and ever will be, and so is everyone else in this room, everyone else in all the realities of this infinite world that we live in. We are all possibility. And that's our base state. I don't care who you are, what you've done in your life, what regrets you have, how successful you've been. Your base state is all possibility. And I've only taken psychoactive drugs once, well, 1.5 times. The main one was in Peru when I took something called ayahuasca in 2003. And for 5 hours, I had this voice, as loud as mine is now, took female form, talking to me about the illusory nature of reality. And when I came back out to Britain, it happened in the Brazilian rainforest, I started following up names, dates, places type information, what I was told. And it was extraordinarily accurate. It's amazing that mainstream science has sussed most of this, but doesn't realize it as, because all the disciplines don't talk to each other. When you connect the dots, you realize they've already established that this is an illusion. But that doesn't go down well because it's too close to the truth. And how I experienced that state beyond this world, beyond vibration, was as stillness and silence. And that's what all possibility is. the stillness and the silence. There was a great line that voice said to me when it was explaining the nature of reality. It said, if it vibrates, it's illusion. If it vibrates, it's illusion, because our core level is stillness and silence. I experienced that. Amazing feeling. There are no negative emotions, there's no fear, there's no worry about not making the rent and all this stuff. They've all gone in that realm. And people think of nothing. All that is, has been, whatever can be. That's all potential, all knowing. And everywhere and nowhere. People think that's a paradox. You can't be everywhere and nowhere, but you can in all possibility. In all possibility, everything is possible. So everywhere is nowhere. Nowhere is everywhere. Everything and nothing. Again, not a paradox. All possibility is everything and nothing. And as I was saying, we think of nothing as nothing's there. There is nothing. But within the nothing, within the silence, is everything. Within the silence, for instance, is all possibility. And then when I start talking, I have pulled one possibility out of all possibility, which is manifest as vibration, my voice. And then I stop. It goes back into all possibility. We don't think that this building is defined by the nothing. We think it's defined by the something. But the something is only there, and this building is only in its form because of the no thing, apparently no thing, in between what we perceive as the something. The silence this is why when people are in silence, they go somewhere else. And so many people are frightened of the silence. Get in the car, whack the record on, get in home, put the telly on, noise, hold you in 5 sense reality. When people go into the silence, that's when they get their insights, because they're accessing other levels of themselves beyond the 5 senses. So out of the no thing comes the realm of form. This is something called cymatics. If you go on the internet, you can see it, videos of it, like YouTube. What they do is they put particles on a metal plate and they play sound across it. And it's incredible. It just forms into these amazing geometrical shapes just because of the sound. And when the sound stops, boom, it all goes back to all over the place. And then the sound changes and another form comes in. And these worlds of form, frequencies, vibrating frequencies, are created in this way, out of all possibility. And there are endless, infinite realms with different so-called laws of physics, different challenges, different experiences, all vibrating at different speeds and therefore able to share the same space. All of these different realms are sharing the same space that I'm sharing now, just as all the radio and television stations broadcasting to this city are sharing the space that I'm sharing now and the space that they're sharing with each other. So we live in a frequency range, and that frequency range is dictated by the range of frequencies that our body computers can decode. And it is extraordinarily tiny. We're virtually blind in terms of what exists. The vast majority of this universe is what scientists call dark energy or dark matter. And they call it dark not because it's pitch black, but because we cannot decode it. Therefore, it is not in our realm of experience. We have to work it out by its impact on things that we can see. And the electromagnetic spectrum is 0.005% of what is projected to exist in this universe. And visible light, which is the only frequency range that we can decode, is a fraction of the 0.005%. So this is it. Visible light. This is our world. And we look out and we think we can see everything. But we can't. We can see what we can decode. And therefore, we operate within a dimension, we might call it, and it's penetrated by other dimensions, which allows those other dimensions to interact with ours, which I'm going to get to in the second section, because that is fundamental to the control system. What we're doing is we are putting our focus of attention into this reality through the body computer, and therefore this seems to be the only world that exists. But the space we're occupying is teeming with life of endless varieties. So if we come into this world of mind and we hold a connection to consciousness, we are in this world physically and we can experience this. We're going to go to the pub, yeah, let's have a beer with you, yeah. But we're not of this world in terms of the point of observation. We are in this world, but we're observing it from here. We can see things here that this can't see. And that's why the control system has to keep us here. And a structured society to make that happen. To keep us in bewilderment by being only able to decode and experience reality through the five senses. And once you are in the five senses, and you're not getting inspiration, insight, intuitive knowing from higher levels of your consciousness, where do you look to get a fix on who you are, where you are, and the world you're living in? There. And who controls that? The control system that controls the media, politics, education, science. The idea is isolate us in the five senses, isolate us in body-mind, and then program the body-mind to see the world that suits the control system. Time and space are just information within the metaphysical universe fabric, the vibrational fabric, which we then decode into what appears to be time and space. There is no time and space. When you put a disk in a computer, it's got information on it. You put it in the computer reads it. On the screen, you see time and space, or what appears to be time and space. But all it is information on the disk being read by the computer and being put on the screen. That's what we are doing all the time. Time's an illusion. And my goodness me, if we fall for that, then we totally get encompassed by time, that time exists. You can say it's 1 o'clock, I've got to meet someone at 1 o'clock, so you're there at the same time, and synchronize that. But all along, you know that it's just a construct. It's not part of you this time. Because no time is where consciousness operates. And if we operate completely connected to time, then by that very nature, we're going to disconnect from consciousness, which is on another level of perception. Our time is just crazy. You cross an invisible line in the ocean, you go into tomorrow. You go the other way, you go into yesterday. There is only the now. That's all there is. People say, no, there's the past and there's the future. Well, okay. When you think of the future, where are you? You're in the now. When you think of the past, memories, where are you? You're in the now. These are constructs. These are perceptions. They're not real. Only thing that's real is now. Everything happens in the now. And the only moment we can change anything is in the now. And if we get pulled into the past, all regret, I wish I had, oh, that woman in 1953, ooh. Or we get pulled into the future, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh, yeah, outcome, oh, what if? Then we're getting pulled out of the only time that exists, and therefore our power to change things, to impact on now is diluted. And we are absolutely dominated by time. What's the time? Oh my God, it's not the time. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Are you going to get time? Oh, I'm late. And yet, the now is the only thing that exists, and time, like space, is a perception. It is part of the construction of reading. You could see time in a way like a disc, like a DVD. What you've seen in the film is your past, as you perceive the past. What you're looking at in the film at that moment you perceive as the present, and what you've yet to see in the film you perceive as the future. Yet all that information exists on that disc at the same time. Whip back a bit, you've gone into the past. Whip forward, you've gone into the future. And I've been talking for years about the time loop, as I call it. Wrote a book with that title. And it's not really a loop, but it can express itself like that in the play-out world of so-called physical reality. And we go round and round and round, and it comes back to the start. And we think we're going forward, but because we're only in it for a certain section, we think we're going forward. If we stayed with it, it will come basically back to the start. It's like a place of experience, and depending on what we wish to experience, depends on what part of the loop that we decide to experience. Because, as I said earlier, this vibration, and by the way, this vibration coming out of the black holes vibrates in the now. It doesn't move through time. It carries the encoded information that we decode as time, but it vibrates in the now. But it doesn't vibrate just the same forever. It goes through a cycle, a vibrational cycle, changes. And as it changes, it elicits different information from the suns, which we then decode. And as we do so, the world moves on, experience moves on through different epochs. You look at the ancients around the world, and they invariably see time as secular. You have, of course, the famous yugas in Indian belief, Hindu belief, where the world goes through different cycles. You have a golden age when everything is expansive and everything's fully integrated and connected. And then you have other yugas which are suppressed, and you have control, and you do not have the expansive awareness that you had before. It's a different kind of experience. And so as this vibration changes, it takes this reality through a cycle and then comes back again. This is where all these yugas come in. And what happens is the left half of the brain particularly decodes this information, which is vibrating in the now. It decodes it into a sequence. It's what some brain scientists call the left brain a serial processor. And it's this sequence that it puts the information in that appears to be the passage of time from past to future. The quicker it decodes it, the quicker time seems to move, the slower it decodes it, the reverse. This is why, as Einstein said, if you're in the company of a beautiful woman, time can pass very quickly, but if you're in a dentist chair, it can pass very slowly, because your brain is decoding reality in a different way, putting it into a sequence in a different way. And so the time loop is actually just the decoding of this changing vibration, changing information. And again, if you can hold connection to out there, you can be in the world and not of it. If you're not, you're literally caught in the loop, and that's where most people have been for a very long time.